Hello, it's iBookBinding's podcast, and today it's a very unusual setting for us because we are guests at Schmedt in Hamburg, and we're hosted by Hans Hinnerk Schmedt and Konstantin Schmedt, and we'll talk about the company, about the history, I guess, about their products, and it's very interesting because when I was preparing to come here, I've been talking to some of my colleagues, and they were like, "What are your plans?" Because it's our vacation now, and we are visiting Schmedt in Hamburg, and they were like, "Oh yeah, Schmedt, that's nice, good for you." So everybody knows Schmedt. So it's great that you invited us, and we have a chance to record this podcast. Hi.
Yeah. Hi. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Thanks for the introduction.
Yeah.
And good to hear that we are well known in the industry.
Yeah. That's true. And on the other side of the screen, via Zoom, hi Pavel, nice to have you here.
Hi.
Hi. So let's begin. If you would dive a bit in the history of your company, because I guess that's where all begins, but that's where all starts. How did
So I'm the guy for the history.
Yeah, perfect.
you know.
Good that we have you here today.
Yes, okay. It's the last 44 years of my life I spent in this company, and it's not only this. It's a company that's really a family business.
Yeah.
The grandfather of my father bought the company, and it was existing at that time already. It was around 1900.
Mm-hmm.
So that's quite a history for a company.
Yeah.
And then it went through good times and through bad times. My grandmother took it over.
End of the 20s. So 100 years ago. Yeah.
100 years ago. And she had really fierce times, and we are talking about the war again, and there was I think the biggest war, 1939 to 45, and the business was bombed out completely, and she restarted the business just getting a typewriter from the Deutsche Bank, so the bank house we still have.
You still have this typewriter?
No. I'm very sorry about this, that we don't have that anymore.
That would be nice.
Because that was something we could display much better than our machines. That's it. But you must see how much power there was in this woman, my grandmother, because
her husband was in the war.
It was 1943. And she had to restart the business from zero, from really zero. So there was nothing left. And she did. And then my father joined the company in the 50s. And it was challenging times. It was difficult. But anyway, we had a lot of competition those years. And
well, I guess bookmaking business was
much bigger. Yeah, because we had so many commercial binders. Just to compare the figures in Germany, commercial binders, the union of commercial binders had, I think, more than 1,200 members. And today it's 100.
Okay.
So that is within 70 years.
It is a tenth.
Commercial binders.
Yeah.
So the business has completely changed over these years. And one of the game changers, I think, in bookbinding was my father, because he was a salesman for bookbinding material, and he met all the customers because he traveled around Germany. And the customers came on and said, okay, but we and this was the first thing he did, we need a small hot stamping machine. We need something apart from the big embossing machines that were difficult to set up, and you could not do one-offs on the big machines. But the demand was in the 60s, 70s was one-off book titles on library binding. Library binding was the big business for bookbinders those days. And so there was the demand of getting rid
Setting a frame with
type for one title. So 1 hour setting, 1 or 2 seconds stamping, and then setting the new title. So his development was what he then called, not knowing the English meaning of the word, his machine was called PräGnant.
Yeah.
So because in Germany, the word pregnant means very specific, very unique. That is the word pregnant in German.
Yeah.
And so pregnant in English always puts a smile to the faces of people. So that's good.
I was always curious by why the machine is called this way. Well, now I know.
and we sold maybe about 6, 7, 8,000 of these little machines and still sell them. So there's still a demand. There's a smaller system now for
really small binders.
But what it did, it started the Schmedt business, machine building.
As it is tomorrow. Well, as it is today and tomorrow.
Yes,
I guess, hopefully.
And today it's 50% of Schmedt.
Yeah,
is machine building.
Yeah.
And those days it was just a little workshop in the home of my father. Finally, it was not the home; it was I think it was the stable of the hens and animals. So they were moved out to another place, and that was his workshop. And he started this little machine there, and then developed.
Do you remember how it was happening?
When?
Oh, how it was? Do you personally remember how was it happening?
Because we lived there.
Yeah.
And when my father came home at Fridays,
yeah,
because he was traveling the week, he had no time to design machines. But in the weekend, it was his hobby time. And his hobby time was filled with designing little things. So always he made furniture for home before he started to design machines. But then this PräGnant machine came, and it was a real success. We sold in the first year just a few because it was people need to know it.
Yeah.
But in the second year, we sold 500 of this little machine.
Okay.
So this was what you would call it startup today. So, but that was just the beginning of something new, and it was a perfect machine because we built it till today with very slight changes, and so that was the start of the Schmedt machine factory,
which is there today.
The wholesaling business, which is the base of all the business, is still there. And one thing did really never change. It was the focus to the small bookbinder, to the craft bookbinder. So many of these commercial bookbinders we had those years were just very small shops. There were 2 employees, 5 employees, maximum 10 employees. That was the typical bookbinder over the years. And so our focus stayed there. We increased the sales program by at least 50%. Today we have more than 10,000 items for bookbinding. I don't think that any bookbinder
that he could
use 10,000 items.
Yeah, exactly.
This is normally you have just maybe 10 or 15, and and you use these very often. But bookbinding is such a wide field. So we have bookbinding as a hobby today, which was not existing 25 years ago. Not at all. We have high-class bookbinders doing very, very small numbers of books, but very high classified books. Then we have still a few commercial binders.
And I think Germany is one of the few countries where still there are trade binderies existing.
Yes.
With many bookbinders working, or not at least one bookbinder.
But it changed.
because
it changed a lot.
in most of the countries it's almost non-existent now, and we talked a lot to people from the United Kingdom,
And they all
are a bit sad that this is in the past. Well, they're happy that some traditions changed, because we talked to a lot female bookbinders and bookbinderings,
Yeah.
and they were like, oh yeah, I started in 1980s, and it was really hard to get through this men's business.
Yeah, that's it.
And so this definitely changed, but then some people are still sad that trade binderies are almost no more.
I mean, you can see that in Germany as well. It's the market is starting to change, or has been changing over the last 15 years, I would say. It's really hard for traditional bookbinders who are mainly in a non-digital world to take that step and get into the more digital,
which more
younger people are expecting today, and customers are expecting today. So for us, we see some people that really do it really well, and that are innovative and grow their business. And then we have a lot of people in the market, I think, that are waiting or just doing the same thing, and probably will retire, and then their bookbindery will be gone. And so that's how I think the market is changing a little bit. And on the one hand, that's sad, but on the other hand, you have to adapt, and you have to change, and otherwise it will be hard in the future.
So what I wanted to ask you is about the international side of your business, because even 30 years ago, Europe was much less united, let alone Germany. What was it like then? Were you mostly trading West Germany? Were you trading all over Europe? How has it changed?
So again, it's history, but this part of the history is ending today, or not ending today, but it came up today. When I joined the company in 1978, it was real.
a company
Working with German customers. Everything was in German. So my first approach was, how can we widen the customer base beside Germany? We have not been that strong in the market those days. As I told you, we had a lot of competition. In Germany alone, approximately 10 competitors for bookbinding materials. But we've been the only one having materials and machines. That was our USP. So I said, okay, we need to be known to people outside Germany. And the first thing we needed to do in those days, it was much more complicated. We needed to bring everything into English. And
this way was
the Drupa, the biggest fair for the graphics business in Dusseldorf. In 1982, that was my first big exhibition. So I was on Drupa in 1977, but I was just coming from school, so no experience at all. In 1982, it was my first big exhibition. I planned together with my father, and my preparation was to have all the leaflets. We were working with paper, prints, and no screens. I had to bring all these into more than just one language, and it was not easy by just calling up a translator on a screen. There was no screen, so I went to translators for French. I did the English myself, and
another one in
Spanish. So this way we increased sales on Drupa 82 so much that we sold machines for 1 year production on one exhibition.
Okay, that's nice.
Really sales. And we got known to companies and bookbinders around Germany. So Netherlands and Belgium and Denmark, Great Britain, because we had very tight relationship to Great Britain before that already. And so it started. So we started to sell machines abroad. And when you sell a machine, customers very often ask, what's the best material to be used on that machine? And so we started the material business also abroad. And that's what happened over the years.
And we
Found being quite strong in Germany over the years. So maybe 15 years ago, the market really cleared up. It left about 3 to 4 suppliers for bookbinding material. In the market today, it's only 2 major ones. We are one and another company in southern Germany. But those days, we saw that we covered Germany quite well, but we needed to really get into the international business with material much more. Machines was great. So 50% of our machine production goes to international customers. So that was no problem because there was no substitute for these machines. But material, we needed to learn. And the internet had a lot. We started with the first internet shop in 1997 already.
That's pretty advanced.
So, and it was always the aim. We never had a handmade shop because I've always made the software for our company myself. And so it was my thought to have all the products that we sell in the shop because it was just a different kind of a computer. So our approach was with first shop, we made the design ourselves. So we did not use a platform those days. We had our own shop, but it was always a demand to get a tight link between all the products we have and we could offer in-house. We wanted to offer the same online to the world. And as we have this long experience this way,
we have the 5th
generation of web shop now. So, this is over the years, you need to modernize the whole thing again. And we just started and Konstantin is very, very active in that.
That's what I wanted to ask, because you told us how you joined the company and introduced some new things, and now Konstantin is the next generation, and I guess there could be some changes there or some updates or something.
Definitely.
I mean, yeah, that was one of my first big projects. So I joined the company like 2 years ago, and I was always in my private life also, because you are connected to the business, right? And you look at the websites, and I was always not 100% satisfied with how we represented ourselves. And so that was one of my personal goals to kind of also get us out there with like a refreshed design and a newer content.
because we always
Separated the shop side of the business and the machine side of the business. So we had 2 separate web pages, and it was sometimes, I think, not clear for all our customers. We offer both.
Yeah, where do they meet together?
Yeah, the machine customers were like, okay, Schmedt, good machines, they work well, international, but they didn't really know that they could also get the material. Or maybe they didn't even think about it. And now we combined the 2, and I mean, it's not immediately like we cannot see, okay, we sell more machines, unfortunately, but I think it's just more coherent, and we have a much better representation to the customer. And yeah, that was one of the big projects I started, and we launched in February. But I mean, as you know, it's ongoing, right? You always have some new ideas, and the good thing is that I do the front end development, most of it. We have one back end freelancer who helps us, but so we are really flexible, and we can adjust quickly if we want to test something, and we can see how it looks and how it feels for the customer. So that's I think an advantage, even though it takes time, right? It's like
Definitely.
I also have other jobs in the company, and web shop development not what I learned in school. So yeah, but I think it's a little bit of a competitive advantage because I don't always have to go to somebody, hey, can you do this? And then I look at it, and then again we test it out. But I can immediately see it and change it if I have to.
I guess this happens in smaller companies that you have to double head or triple head sometimes and do a lot of stuff.
But the big advantage is that you are in your business.
Yeah.
You know what's going on. If you have a developer responsible for the outlook and the right combination of products on pages, it will not be that successful because he doesn't know what belongs together. He always needs input to that part that he doesn't understand. Mm-hmm. He might be much better in designing the page and getting some nice things to it. But for the customer, the use is important. He needs to find the product he looks for quickly and just see, oh, yes, I have that. Yeah, and for us, it's very important that he sees other things that he could use also if he uses this,
tool or material,
material of 10,000. We have other things to offer, and that is a big advantage. And just coming back to the guy who helps us, the freelancer, and this again, we see how good Europe is. He is from Poland, so and it's very easy, as it is today. You just chat with him and say, okay, there's a little problem there and there, and he just looks into it and corrects this, and it's a great working together, and this is just great. And I like the idea. I always like the idea of being international. And I like the idea of Europe growing together and really having you here being from one country. We are from Germany. I don't know where you are from, but
Moscow.
Moscow, yes, okay.
Moscow, yes.
Yes, I can see this because you have some Cyrillic writing at the wall.
Yeah.
So, but you think this is the great thing about Europe today and bringing everything together. And on the other hand, it opens for a company like us with having 40 plus employees, so not a big company, huge market for little things. So for very specific things that you can't buy at every corner, but we would never have the chance to approach all these customers with our products without the web and without the acceptance of people in France, in Belgium, in Netherlands, everywhere to buy in Germany. There was a kind of a wall, not a wall in the meaning we had earlier, but it was difficult to say, oh yes, I buy in Hamburg. Mm-hmm. If you are in Paris.
Yeah.
It was difficult. But this breaks up. France, for example, is the best developing international market we have over the last good 3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
And this is, for us, it's very important that we make it easy for people to get the experience that it's sometimes cheaper to get it from Hamburg than from Lyon, maybe. And on the other hand, to have it within 2 days.
Yeah.
And this is Europe. This is because we have no frontiers, we have no customs. More difficult with England right now, and this is definitely a problem to us because we have many customers in England.
Yeah, even I have felt some issues after Brexit because deliveries are longer. Mm-hmm. You have to pay custom fees now, and there were some. Well, I'm selling through Etsy. In the beginning, there were some bureaucratical issues because they were thinking how to collect taxes on Etsy side or not on Etsy side, and the customs didn't know that Etsy started collecting taxes or something. So some packages were taken by customs, delayed, so it was insane. But
and then these are the difficulties. But overall, we have 27 countries left, and these countries work together.
Yeah.
And for us at Schmedt, and I must say this is one of the advantages we have. We have a very, very small market. So we have customers all over Europe who like to buy maybe 1 meter cloth for bookbinding. But because it's not huge quantities, we have very few companies in Europe that do it and sell 1 meter of cloth. And the web just helps us to get in contact. Customers find us. We would never find the customers, no way to find a hobby bookbinder in Rome to buy at Schmedt. No way. But for the hobby bookbinder in Rome who doesn't get the right materials there, the internet is just a click away, and and hopefully he finds our page, even though it's not in Italian yet.
I think Italy is also a difficult market. It is, especially for bookbinding for us. So not a focus market, but France is developing well. Austria and Switzerland, everything around Germany. Germany not so much. I mean, I think everybody is a little bit scared with the economy and everything. So it's for us at least a little bit of a challenge. But I think for us the focus is also a little bit more on growing outside of Germany, and that's going well, and then growing everywhere basically in different segments. And this is also one thing we are trying to focus on, to be even better in smaller quantities, because we are already, I think you can buy 1 meter of cloth, but like with 1 meter of cloth, you can do quite some books, right? Like depending on the size of the book, but like you can do 4 or 5 books, and maybe you only want to do 1. So that's, I think, our next focus, and it has been on my mind for a really long time to be more, even more on the hobby side of the business, to also get people involved that are not already kind of like these DIY people that know how to do things, but maybe we can get somebody to bind a book at home with our materials that hasn't done it ever before, just watching a video or a guide online. And I think that's at least some opportunity for us that we want to pursue. And it's a little bit technical. Like we want to make it with a configure
online, and that's not all working yet. But
so once we have that set up, I think that could be quite an interesting approach for I don't know, somebody who is not really involved in bookbinding too much yet.
Good.
And for us, hopefully a market that keeps the company alive.
Yeah. I assume especially during COVID, it was a safe line, because even a large client weren't able to come and see your machines. So the website of your business must have been very important during those years.
Yeah, we definitely, I mean, for us, I think in terms of the numbers, it didn't really change too much. But we definitely see a trend towards web orders versus like people calling and emailing. And in Corona, it was crazy. We were found for things, and people bought
products to use for
different stuff that we had never in mind. So not for bookbinding at all, but we sold a lot of these, how do you call them in English? Gummilitze, for the masks.
Yeah.
So that you could put
the rubber bands.
The rubber bands, yeah. So that we have that for like notebooks, and people started to make their own masks, right? Because before everybody had to wear FFP2. And so that was like a big boost, because we suddenly sold thousands of meters of rubber bands. Which
I think it was a 10 years turnover within 2 months.
Yeah. Nice. So that's interesting. And of course, you only if you're online, you get found. And yeah, machines in 2020 was difficult. We for sure definitely felt it quite a bit. We also there's like a program in Germany where you can ramp down your employee time and
on wages, and the government pays part of
the wage to keep the job secured. It's called Kurzarbeit, and that's a program that's
for Corona.
It has existed before, but it was intensified in Corona, and it was much easier to apply. And some people, I think some companies are still doing it, but we also used that for I think 3 months or so, two and a half months. So people were only working 50%, and that definitely helped us to have kind of this like initial breakdown in sales, because we didn't sell any machines then, because nobody invested. Nobody knew what was going on with their own companies, so they would not invest in new machines to basically start hardcover or professionalize their hardcover setup. So in that time, that helped us, that program, and we
2020, let's put it like that, and then
2021 was a really good year in terms of machines. And you see the video setup here a little bit, parts of it, and we invested.
Maybe we'll have a chance to walk around a bit,
yeah,
a bit later.
We can do it,
yeah.
for sure. I have to see if I can get it to work, but we'll try. Yeah, so we now basically, since the end of 2020, we started presenting our machines via Zoom. So we are very used to doing video meetings, and that really helped us sell to international clients, especially who usually they had to come, fly in, spend a night in Hamburg. We had to, of course, I mean, it's also fun, but we had to go to dinner, and it's like a lot of time investment. And in the end, usually they purchased the machine because they were happy, but normally they also knew beforehand, okay, if the machine works as I expect, then
otherwise you wouldn't do the big trip.
And now it's the same, but you just connect with Zoom. It takes 1 hour of time or 2 hours, depending on the setup that we look at. And the people get the same level of confidence because, I mean, we also are known for quality machines. So that's, I think it helps. But like if you see it, and if you see your own products being produced, which we also do, so they can send samples of their material, and we live stream book being made, and they see, okay, it works with my material, and that really gives a lot of confidence. So that has helped us throughout 2021, and we had our best year in machine sales for quite a long time, I think. Right.
Definitely.
So that was interesting, going from like very ramped down to, okay, demand is exploding. I think a lot of industries felt that, and some are still struggling with all the
issues. We got lucky because we
had, I think there was one sensor that we couldn't get, but we had bought 80 because our supplier was like, okay, no, you have to take the 80 during 2020. And we were like, we don't need them, but okay, whatever, we have to make our contract. And then we had them when nobody else could get them, or we couldn't get them. So that was a really fortunate circumstance, because like in the machine, if you have one part that is missing, it's
absolutely.
really difficult to realize, and maybe you have to look for a different part. But sensors and all of that stuff were quite difficult to get in the past 2 years.
I guess with Zoom, it's also, before there were definitely some companies who tried to present their machinery or stuff via video calls or something like that, but most of the customers weren't ready for that. And now everybody had at least one Zoom call once a year, and they know how it works. So it's easier for them as well.
Yeah, for sure, that helped. I mean, I think it's very accepted now, and even people that are not really digital, they are like, okay, let's try it out. And before I'm on your side, I think people would just be like, nope. We don't do it.
When we started our podcast 2.5 years ago, in the beginning, people were quite cautious. Like, I'm not sure I'm ready to record the video over internet and so on. And so we had to do some preparations or I don't know what. And later it was, video podcast. Okay, sure. Well, I'll join you. That's not a problem. And then now we started doing live streams, and in the beginning we were also cautious, and people were cautious because it's a bit different. You can say something online, and it's already there, and and it stays forever.
But after a few tries,
people were like, "Yeah, okay, sure, it's not different from offline record, almost not different." So it's interesting how everything changes, how perception changes.
Yeah,
and not only the perception, but expectation. You know, people expect that you are able to do it.
Yeah.
So if you would say, okay, no, you have to come, you lose the business immediately. This has changed.
That's interesting. That's
2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
That was the normal thing.
Yeah.
We said, okay, you cannot get the experience over camera and display.
Yeah.
So you have to be here. And that changed. Today, people say, okay, does it at all make sense to come to your place? Or can't you show me everything that I need to know? And then I'm saving a lot of flight costs and hotel costs and everything. So this is the expectation is there. And if you are able to fulfill this, I think still you are a step ahead. And what we found, we got a video call of one of the very, very, very big bookbinders from, I think it was Canada. Mm-hmm. And the big boss was online, and, a bit nervous, which is normal if somebody very important is on the other side. And he finally said, okay, he has not had such a professional demonstration over TV or screen. So, and that helped us to say, okay, we know we hadn't been bad, but he obviously did not see anything better. So that was something we say, okay, if it helps with him, being critical, being the big boss, I'm not like, I don't like to spend money. So he was not prepared to just say, I'm very happy that we do this now. Yeah. And finally ending up with saying, yes, okay, that was very professional. That helped us and made us, really convinced that this is the right way for the future also, even without Corona. And what happens now, and this is even more important. We have been to Drupa since 1967 as a company. Mm-hmm. 1967. Every 4 or 5 years, there was Drupa. Mm-hmm. So it was suspended for Corona. First time in 60 years, was nearly 70 years. Now, to restart Drupa, I think that will be a real big problem. Because over the years, we extended the stand space we had every year because we had more machines, we wanted to show everything. So finally, we ended up with 200 square meters of stand space in Drupa.
That's impressive.
And for a small company like us, and the price which is involved with all of this, with 13 or 14 employees being there for 3 weeks in Dusseldorf, even though it's Germany, but it's the same hotel price. And
still the other side of the country. And,
yes, and it was a hell of a lot of costs involved. And compared to 1982, my first very active Drupa, to the last one, 2016, which we were active in, the last one, we booked orders for 1 month of production. Mm-hmm. And 1988 with a much smaller production, but we sold 1 year of production. Yeah. And then you must see, okay, is this still the right format to approach customers? You must definitely ask for costs compared to what comes out of it. And do I really reach customers that do not know me and that are coming to this exhibition with a bookbinding experience, or being just a printer looking around and saying, okay, bookbinding is not my job. So, this happens on Drupa quite often because it is such a wide exhibition from layouting till finishing. And we are with book finishing a very, very, very small part of the Drupa experience for, maybe 5% of the audience, if not less. Mm-hmm. So for us, definitely end up with having still a representation at Drupa, but much smaller. Compared to the other years we have been there, we will reduce by at least 50%. And we will show just the very new developments and not the whole range of machines. Because
maybe adding some Zoom calls on demand.
This is what we want to do. Yes, We will have all the machines here.
Yeah.
And if a customer comes maybe from South America and he says, okay, but I just came to see that machine, we will be able to show it to him. And we are prepared to pay him a train ticket. The train takes 4 hours from Dusseldorf to Hamburg, and do the whole thing for him if he invests one of the days he is at exhibition. So finally, he will see the machine in action if he likes, either via Zoom, which would be the easy way. We will have all the time here, being just prepared to do a demo then when a customer at the exhibition says, okay, I want to see that. And this is what we couldn't do at Drupa at all, because we will never have everything there. It's just not impossible. So, but these join of two worlds will finally, I think, be the key to success. This is what we experience.
This is really interesting, but do you have everything working where you are now? I looked at your website and there are so many different machines, and you can on demand show anything.
Let me use the other camera, and I will just give you a short look.
Quite a setup.
So finally you see all the machines that we offer here on display in working condition. So we get quite often we get samples from customers who say, okay, I want to make this product. I don't want you necessarily watch you doing it, but I want your confirmation that my product works on your machines. And so we decided in 2011 already to have this setup, which is, I think it is about 3 times the size of a Drupa stand would be, but with all the machines we produce for hardcover bookbinding, and we can show each step of the operation here. So either binding of the book block or case making or embossing or the newest thing that Konstantin will just demonstrate, or not demonstrate, but show the product. Printing of.
I didn't plan to. It was here from yesterday because we had a demo. yesterday.
But anyway, we should show it.
Yeah,
yes.
we can show it because we have this full second camera, and let's see if that works now because I set it up before. Yeah, so it's very interesting digital printed edge. This is the new big thing on the market, and we are lucky enough to have a machine. And I think this is a really cool example because it's like the book cover extends over the edge of the book, and yeah, it's just a new thing we offer. And we also have a machine here. And to answer your question,
and do we sell this machine, or it's only for the
no, we sell
project?
it. We only sell it. We don't.
So it's just a sample.
It's just a sample. Okay. We don't usually produce anything here and sell it. Yeah. It's only like we produce samples, and we want the customer to buy the machine and do the production themselves. Because that's the hard part, right? Yeah. No, but all the machines work. Some of them work with glue, so it's like a little bit like you take a little bit of time to heat up. For example, if you have a hot gluing machine. But all of them work, and if we have our technician here, Albert, he's also from Russia, actually. And he is proficient in all the machines. And if I had to do it, I could maybe, let's say, operate like a third of the machines, and not so good. And he really knows how to do it. So yeah, but he's I think in Poland right now. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, on a service trip. But yeah, they all work, and I think that's also good, because usually, like when you talk to somebody via Zoom as well, it's like, oh, and do you also
solution for this, even though they didn't think about it before? You talk about a
topic, and you're like, yeah, we have a small device or a machine or something, and we can show it to you immediately, or after like 5 minutes when Albert has finished setting it up. So that's definitely a game changer. Even though, I mean, we are like, as my father said, we have like 40 employees, and 15 people working in the machine side of the business, focusing on that, production and engineering and all of that. So like fairly small company. And if you look at this, it's like definitely overkill for our company size, I would say. It was definitely not an economical investment back in the day, I think in 2011. If you had calculated how much does this cost, how much is all the setup here in capital that is basically invested in
anything for you, let's if you want to say it like this,
and how many machines are you going to sell because you have this versus if you didn't have it. Definitely not a good decision.
Yeah.
But now that we have
the showroom.
Yeah, the showroom.
Yeah.
And now that we have it, it's a game changer, especially during the times where we couldn't exhibit at exhibitions, which was the big sales channel in the past for machines. Now that we basically don't have or didn't have any exhibitions for a really long time, this has helped us for sure, and would have been difficult to set up if we didn't have it. So definitely a great decision in hindsight, but
but you could see this, or you can't see it. Even our competitors, especially from Italy, do demos, and they do the demo in their production. So you can do this. This is fine, but there's always a customer experience behind this.
Yeah,
and the customers know from what they see here that we are really prepared to work on the machines, and not taking one machine which is being produced or has been produced yesterday, and now we do some demos and maybe it's just testing, and then the machine goes out, and what they never have at these places is what comes up to their mind. What kind of glue are you using, and what is the advantage of that glue against the other glue, or what is the best paper, or what is the board? The 100% machine manufacturers say, okay, you have to ask your supplier. I can confirm that this machine will do everything. So, and the customer says, from my experience, no machine does work with everything. So, and this is true. This is true. Our machines work with maybe 90% of the materials, but not with everything. This is just possible with the machine. And so that made a big difference. And finally, because the place we are in here is beside our wholesale place. And in 2010, because it was a bookbindery in this, an industrial bookbindery was in this place. And it's just the next door from where we have been.
So it's just a lucky coincidence.
Yes. They wanted to sell, they closed the bindery and they wanted to sell the building, and they offered the building to us. And it was very expensive. Maybe today it would be 3 times as expensive, but for us it was very expensive those days, 12 years ago. But we did it, and we invested a hell of a lot of money, but we didn't know Corona was coming. And then it came. And Drupa was just canceled. And we were just
buy a camera, a better camera,
better micros and all this. But this was just a very, very small add-on to what we had already. So, and it helped us, and it made a 2021 year with machine sales, which went through the ceiling. And that's the result. And that is just a decision we made in 2010. And it helped us in 2020, 21, 22 so much. And it changed Schmedt to be more digital, to be able to present what we have and what we do to an audience, in Australia or New Zealand. In fact, a little story about this. When Konstantin started with this, we had 3 different Australian
customers with the first 3 Zoom meetings
in September 2 years ago.
2020,
And all these 3 customers finally, after 2 hours watching the machines, bought machines. And that was really, and we didn't have all these cameras, not so much, it was more a handy thing like that. but it really said for us, that was a changer.
Yeah.
It was just saying, okay, this is the future. You know, you need this kind of success once to be able to say, okay, that's it. And we have to do it. And we didn't need to build something basically, because we had it already.
Yeah.
So that's the great thing.
That's a good coincidence, and
It was and luck.
And luck.
I've just read.
Sometimes you need that as well.
You know, people running a company need knowledge. They need to hard work. But what they always need is luck. And you will not be successful if you don't have at least a little bit of luck.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's true. So I guess this ends our first part, and we'll definitely post links down below in the description of the video to social accounts. Also, there will be links to iBookBinding's sites and social projects, and please subscribe and follow us everywhere and share the videos. And also there is a link to our Patreon account where we collect some money from our patrons, from our community members, which allows us to edit these videos. So yeah, it's crucial to us, and many thanks to people who already support us.